From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
A meeting tomorrow will determine whether a major early voting site will be added in Marion County with just a handful of days left until the election. Good evening to you. I'm Amanda Starrentino. Mark Mullins has the night off. The Marion County Election Board will hold a public meeting at 10 a.m. on a proposal to add Lucas Oil Stadium as an early voting location. The board is made up of one Democrat, one Republican, and the county clerk. We told you last night at 11, under Indiana law, they must unanimously approve the addition of an early voting location outside of the clerk's office. There are only 5 satellite sites in Marion County. Voters have faced hours-long wait times at all of them. This is the sign that a Muncie man says greeted him when he went to vote at the Delaware County Government Center. A sign posted to clearly make the point you don't have to wear a mask in the building to vote, this despite the statewide mask mandate. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker is getting answers from the Secretary of State's office so you know how to keep yourself safe if you decide to vote in person.
Just given that Delaware County is such a hot spot for the virus now, it's just really odd that they would be okay with people not or allowing people to not wear masks in the buildings.
But that is exactly what those in charge of voting are allowing at the Delaware County Government Center. Dennis Everett is the man who took the picture of the sign and then shared it online. He just wants to know if it's allowed under Indiana's statewide mask mandate.
You can't walk in there without pants or shoes. You can't walk in there with political logos like on your T-shirts. There's all sorts of restrictions already in place, so I don't know how this one would be any different.
I reached out to the Secretary of State's office to get some clarification, not only for Dennis, but all voters who could be concerned about this across the state. In an email, a spokeswoman for Secretary Connie Lawson says in part, nothing in the Constitution prohibits a person from exercising their right to vote due to illness or disability. As a result, a voter cannot be required to wear protective devices or apparel as a precondition to appearing in person at the polls. To require them to do so would violate their constitutional right. That does not sit well with Dennis.
Even if there was a mandate and an individual just cannot wear a mask for some legitimate medical reason, they can always mail in their vote or mail it absentee. So I don't buy the idea that this is a mandate would keep people from voting.
Many people who were in line to vote on Wednesday when this video was shot were wearing masks, hoping others do the same to look out for each other despite having the choice to not wear one.
I personally didn't really like it. It's like there's people who are at risk voting, I feel like everybody should be safe.
We finna go through another wave of this corona. I have family members, both. 2 of them got it right now in Anderson. So, yeah, everybody needs to put a mask on.
Working for you in Delaware County, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
And the CDC released recommendations for voters to stay safe while voting in person. They're similar to the guidelines for grocery shopping. Wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from others. They remind you to bring your own mask and hand sanitizer. Now to the latest on the pandemic in Indiana. A record 3,649 new positive COVID cases were reported between Saturday and yesterday. The death toll in the state is now more than 4,000 people. And hospitalizations continue to go up. There were 1,733 patients as of yesterday. Hospitals in our area are starting to see a spike in COVID-19 patients again. Leaders with Community Health Network and IU Health believe the steady increase is due in part to pandemic fatigue and people not taking the same precautions they may have been taking several months ago. Health leaders say they are tracing a lot of these new cases back to family gatherings. They say they're ready and able to take in more patients, but people need to do their part to prevent the spread as well.
What I'm terrified about is the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, because everybody desperately wants to be with each other, and you're going to have people either traveling into the state or out of the state, and you're going to be in contact with people that may not have quarantined. So I'm nervous throughout the country, but even our own hospitals, that from about 2 weeks after Thanksgiving.
And if you do gather with family, try to stay outside and wear a mask at all times. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett is calling on leaders across central Indiana to start working together to fight the pandemic. Mayor Hogsett says a closer collaboration will help curb the spread of COVID and help the local economy.
Now, more than ever, we must recognize that we have a regional economy. in the Indianapolis metropolitan area that covers many counties throughout central Indiana. As such, the public health strategies that will lead us to defeat this virus and set us on a path toward recovery, by their very nature, need to be regional as well.
Mayor Hogsett says he plans on reaching out soon to other city and county leaders. He made that announcement this morning while giving an update on the state of the pandemic in Marion County. The county's public health order is not changing. That means large gatherings are prohibited, and restaurants and other public venues still have capacity restrictions. The superintendent of Indianapolis Public Schools says her team will review when to start participating in the state's COVID-19 dashboard. Right now, IPS is not sharing positive cases with the voluntary reporting system. The district is disclosing the number of COVID cases and quarantines at each of its schools every Monday.
That's our constituency that we're most concerned with, making sure they know what's happening in their particular school community and that we're giving them that information. So that's been the focus for my school leaders right now. We are certainly not opposed to participating, but in terms of where I want our team to be prioritizing our time, it's in getting those communication protocols correct.
Superintendent Alicia Johnson also says with students only returning to in-person learning in the past few weeks, officials are focused on making sure their COVID protocols are being followed consistently. And she says she works closely with the Marion County Health Department. And now to the forecast as we take a live look outside from our tower cam. You can see rain has moved on, but how long will that last? Kevin joins us now with the forecast. Kevin, it was a lot of rain today.
Too much rain in some spots. We've had rain on 10 out of the last 12 days, Amanda. It's time to move on. We've got several dry days in the forecast. 44 in Kokomo, 43 in Bloomington. With clouds hanging in there, that's keeping our temperature from dropping too quickly. We can wave goodbye to the rain. It's now starting to clear the Louisville and Cincinnati area and move away from central Indiana. Seymour over 2.5 inches, Bloomington over 2 inches, Castleton right in there, Speedway and Carmel between 1.25 inches and 1.5 inches. What's different about tomorrow? We stay in the 40s. It won't be as windy, and we'll see some sunshine. Looking forward to that. Temperatures only about 49 for the afternoon high. We'll look toward the weekend, Halloween weekend, and again, we'll find out what all 7 days have in common coming up in the long-range forecast.
Metro Police say a boy is dead and a female victim is in critical condition after a double shooting on the northeast side. They were shot at the Williamsburg North apartment complex off of 62nd Street near Allisonville Road around 7:30 tonight.
This is normally a very quiet apartment complex. We don't receive very many police runs to this area. It's so important for witnesses to come forth if you were here in the area at the time of this situation.
We will bring you updates as we learn more about this investigation. If you have information, you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 317-262-TIPS. More security cameras are popping up downtown, but they aren't just typical cameras. They can be viewed live by law enforcement. It's part of an effort to make customers feel safe downtown. WRTV reporter Cameron Riddle is getting answers about how IMPD plans to use these cameras.
In Indianapolis, there is an effort to bring customers back to the heart of the city.
Really, with everything going on with the pandemic, I'm trying to encourage folks to come back downtown and patronize businesses down here.
Dan Nutty is the executive director of the Indy Public Safety Foundation. That's the nonprofit group that serves as a bridge between businesses and the city's public safety agencies. He says part of a group effort to secure downtown is adding security cameras throughout the area. Several of them will be outside St. Elmo's and Harry and Izzy's.
With this installation, we're including camera views, about 15 camera views along Illinois and Georgia Street.
Having cameras in downtown Indianapolis is nothing new, especially in this area. But this is the first time IMPD will have a direct link to see what's going on in real time. The newly installed security cameras are part of the BeatLink Indy initiative, which gives IMPD access to cameras outside homes and businesses across the city. The BeatLink Pro program, intended for businesses like Harry and Izzy's, will allow police to watch the cameras live after receiving a 911 call. Nutty says IMPD and local businesses are united in keeping customers and employees safe as the fight to survive the pandemic continues.
really the perception of safety downtown is what we're dealing with right now. It's shown through the numbers that it's a very safe place, but we want people to feel comfortable coming back downtown.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
And Downtown Indy Inc. is helping pay for the installation of the cameras, which will then become property of the 35 businesses that have shown interest in the program. The B-Link program is funded in part by $750,000 from the city and Downtown Recovery Committee. IMPD is making changes to the way officers respond to protests. The department has agreed not to use tear gas and other so-called riot control agents during peaceful protests. This comes about 5 months after unrest in downtown Indianapolis and is part of a lawsuit settlement with the ACLU of Indiana. The organization sued on behalf of Indy 10 Black Lives Matter and 3 protesters, including Bree Robinson. She shared her experience at a virtual news conference this morning.
There was a very large number of protesters by the city-county building, and I was probably in the middle of that group. And then all of a sudden, tear gas just began to get deployed, and flash grenades were being used, and we had no notice of what was going on at the front, but then tear gas continued to follow us as we ran away. Officers chased us down alleys to get us to leave, but we didn't even know what happened.
Ken Falk with the ACLU says he hopes the agreement lifts up the rights of protesters so they are better protected in the future.
We won't see the scenes of people who are kneeling in the street, clearly engaged in passive resistance, being sprayed, or people, as Bree indicated, being pursued as they're trying to leave, or people not getting notice, or people marching in a street peacefully but being gassed because the police do not want them to go to another direction. All that is addressed in this agreement.
The settlement still allows IMPD to use riot control measures in certain circumstances, like immediate threats of serious injury or death. In a statement, the department says the tactics recommended by the ACLU were already part of training, but now they are in writing. And the statement also says, quote, "It is our hope that this agreement brings us one step closer to healing the division in our community and building the types of police neighborhood partnerships that reduce violence and create a better Indianapolis for all to enjoy."
Don't know that I would have made the leap right now if it wasn't for the shove off the cliff provided by COVID.
Coming up, why some career experts say now is the perfect time to make a career switch. And if the dreary weather already has you wishing for warmer days, next we'll show you an image that will take you to the month of May.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
We need to make a correction about a shooting we told you about just minutes ago. Both victims in the shooting at the Williamsburg North apartment complex are in critical condition. The boy has not died. We will bring you updates as we learn more. And new tonight, who is ready for May? Tonight, we are getting our first look at the logo for the 2021 Indy 500. It features an outline of the Speedway's iconic pagoda. The 3 flags on top represent the drivers that qualify on the front row, and the dark blue color matches the Indiana state flag. May 30th is race day for next year. I can't believe we're even talking about that, Kevin, since we just had the race like 2 months ago.
I know. Yeah, the forecast looks good for May 30th, 2021.
Oh, good.
I have total confidence.
Positivity going into it.
This is also unique. Yep, you got to just have confidence this far out. This camera sits on top of the pagoda looking across turn 2, and we've got a close-up view of downtown Indianapolis. No longer raining in the metro area. That's the good news. As I mentioned, we're going to start a new stretch of days. Instead of having daily rain, it's going to be dry. Temperatures propped up by the cloud cover, or it would be colder. 41 though in Richmond. If you were out at all tonight, you got to look at the nearly full moon between the clouds. Maybe you saw Mars, which was hanging out next to the moon. We'll have a better look at those two next couple of nights. 48 the high tomorrow afternoon in Indianapolis. Some sunshine, and again, instead of having 30-mile-per-hour gusts like we did today, the wind will generally be around 10 miles per hour. A good night for Friday night football. The jerseys may get dirty, but not because of rain, but the fields may be soggy after our 1 to 2 inches of rain, so I'm sure they can still create some mud. Temperatures will fall into the 30s during the game. So we look at the weekend, split weekend. Both days are dry, but Saturday is relatively mild. Sunday will feel colder than 47 because the wind will gust to 30 miles per hour out of the west-northwest, and that'll change everything. There are your high temperatures Saturday with sunshine, wind out of the south-southwest, still 10 to 20. It'll be a decent evening for trick-or-treaters. Temperatures falling into the 40s. By 9 o'clock, the sky will stay clear, and that's important because we have a full moon. And it's the second of the month, the very first day of October we had a full moon. Then this weekend, that's what you call a blue moon, once in a blue moon. And the last time we've had a Halloween full moon was in the 1950s. As you look at Saturday night before you go to bed, you want to turn the clock back. So there are your sunrise and sunset times for Saturday, and then everything on Sunday coming a bit earlier with sunset to end the weekend at 5:41. The windy conditions will be around because of the pressure difference between a strong low pressure in Ontario and the building area of high pressure to our west. That will bring the strong winds, but that big blue H on the weather map ensures that all 7 days will be dry. Coldest morning comes Monday, 26 degrees. Then as we get to Tuesday, 57, we're in the 60s, Wednesday and Thursday. One more note. On Tuesday, dry for Election Day, so no issues if you're caught in a long line outside. It'll actually be fairly comfortable. Amanda?
Good to know. Thank you, Kevin. UPS is hiring Hoosiers. Tomorrow, the shipping company will make a push to fill seasonal positions during its annual one-day hiring blitz. An in-person job fair will be held from 9 to 3 at the UPS Customer Center on Bradford Road near Ronald Reagan Parkway in Plainfield. There will also be a virtual hiring event. For more info, go to hiringhoosiers.com and click on this story. Changing jobs might feel out of the question in this economy, but Scripps reporter Alicia Nieves shows millions of people have happily made a career switch during the pandemic.
When mandated closures were forced upon most businesses in March,
The owner of the business laid us all off.
Kai Lindemann was a chef at a fine dining restaurant in Washington, D.C., who suddenly became unemployed.
I'm not a person that does well when I have nothing to do or work on, so I immediately enrolled in classes at the local community college.
As restaurant closures lingered far longer than the initial 2-week expectation, Lindemann began to reevaluate his 10-year career in the kitchen.
At this stage in my life, I was starting to think, what does the future look like? Am I going to find myself 40, 50 years old, still working in the restaurant industry, working these insane hours?
And would that be wise, given the volatility of the industry? So he decided to make the change. Trading his kitchen knives for a calculator, he began accounting classes and got a job at an accounting firm.
I don't know that I would have made the leap right now if it wasn't for the shove off the cliff provided by COVID.
Lindemann is among millions of Americans making similar leaps. A new poll shows roughly 2 out of 3 people who lost their jobs during the pandemic have switched careers.
I think it's really a shocking statistic for many people because they think, well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Now is not the time for a career shift. But I've told lots of people, including those within our staffing agency, that now is the perfect time.
As the CEO of the staffing agency Black Girl Group, Stephanie Caudle is helping many get back into the workforce by making a new career shift.
Now is the time for, the millions of Americans out there who, for whatever reason, feel like they had settled for jobs that maybe they didn't necessarily like, really start embracing the things that they really do want to do.
Like with Lindemann, she is seeing the most successful transitions into the finance industry, into paralegal work, and the tech sector, especially transitions into computer coding for people who have little to no experience. But it is worth noting, not everyone is able to make this switch, especially many of the people Lindemann worked side by side with in the kitchen.
There are so many immigrants, documented or otherwise, that it just flat out would not be an option for.
I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
If you are considering switching careers, you can find a variety of job, training, and educational opportunities at hiringhoosiers.com. We'll be right back. Purdue's head coach will be on the sideline this week after recovering from a positive COVID-19 test. Jeff Brom missed last weekend's opener against Iowa as he quarantined. The Boilermakers scratched out a come from behind win at home with Brom watching from afar.
It was unique. I haven't really experienced that before, nor probably do I look forward to ever doing it again because it just doesn't feel like you're a part of it a whole lot, and there's not a whole lot you can do.
Well, Purdue takes on Illinois on the road. Kickoff is set for noon. The IU football team is enjoying the national spotlight after a huge win against Penn State, but the Hoosiers are not content with just one big victory. WRTV's Brad Brown shows how Indiana hopes to build momentum as they head into week 2.
It is the kind of moment that could come to define the season for the IU football team.
The field stands, touchdown.
Since the first day I stepped foot on this campus, I believed Indiana could do what we just did on that field. I believed it. And I hate quit talking about it. I've been made fun of. I've been mocked. I never cared.
But it's also only one game. The Hoosiers realize already that they have a ton of work ahead of them.
You got to learn to manage all this. The different things going on as we talk about. The earmuffs and blinders aren't just for the negative noise. Okay, it's also for the positive things that you have to learn to manage, and then sometimes you have to learn to ignore those as well. So to be able to realize that it's everything is created, by a certain method and process you go through to put yourself in that position.
Indiana's win over Penn State put the Hoosiers 17th in this week's AP Top 25, highest ranking for the program in nearly 27 years. A byproduct of a win over a team that many thought could contend for the Big Ten title. But could IU be one of those teams now?
I try to stress my teammates a lot that, we stay on the same page, we stay locked in. We outside of football, we're taking care of each other at the end of the day, making sure we're not making any bad decisions.
Let's not forget, though, the Hoosiers' perilous way of winning that game. They lost a 10-point lead. Defense gave up a couple bad fourth-quarter touchdowns. A mistake with a late squib kick was saved by a missed field goal. But they found a way to win. And this condensed season, a 1-0 start, is a very big deal.
We struggled at the beginning of the game. We didn't play our best football. We all came on the sideline. We just talked together. Just 1-0, just come out and just do what we love. Do it at the best of our ability. But that's all we did. Just kept that 1-0 mindset so we could come out and finish the game strong.
We have a great one word this week: focus. And I think that's just what we've got to bring to the table every day is just extreme focus and practice at a high level each day.
And what about that final call? Tom Allen went for the win in overtime.
To be able to experience that, you can talk about all you want. When you experience that type of situation and you find a way to finish the game and go win the game, that's a powerful thing. And so I just know that's, it's great for our kids.
IU goes to Rutgers this weekend. After that, it is quite the trifecta. Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State on 3 straight weeks. The Hoosiers will certainly know by Thanksgiving if they are, in fact, the real deal. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
I'm serious. Tomorrow's Friday. You've made it. 49 for the high, a little sunshine, 56. Briefly warmer because look at Sunday. Windy, cold, 47, but still dry. That's the forecast. Amanda?
All right, it looks good, especially for Halloween. Thanks for joining us. Good night.